Oh, they getting in there. It's a Friday. Here on HBCU Coaches Corner Special Edition. I'm going to give them about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to get started. We gave 3 hours last time we was on, guys. We can't give them that. We can't give them that again.
Hey,
we don't charge enough. We don't charge enough to pay them, and we don't pay good enough.
You know, last time, you know, we had all them guys, you know, they were talking with their hearts, not with the numbers. You know,
I'd like to welcome everybody to HBCU Coaches Corner. My name is Rocky Miller, along with my co-host, Stephen Campbell, and our featured host, none other than the SWAC legend himself, the man who won the 2010 SWAC championship, none other than my man, Johnnie Cole.
He here, Coach. He here. Ready to rock and roll, man. Great time, and it's Friday afternoon before, you know, it get too dark out here in Arizona. You know, we 5:30 out here. So, but we're 100 degrees. Let's make sure that you understand it's hot out here in Arizona now.
Can you lean in, Coach? You're breaking up a little bit. You may want to lean in a little bit.
Okay, I'll lean in. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, but I was just saying it's real hot. It's hot as fish grease out here in Arizona now. But we had some rain for the first time I think I've seen in a year. It rained pretty good last night. So, you know, we kind of cooled us off a little bit from 113 to 115 to down to 107, 105.
All right, Coach. Hey, check this out, Coach. This is a very special edition. You called us all up and told us you got the man from Alabama State. You're a good friend and actually coaching at a place where you used to roam the sidelines as a offensive coordinator. With no further ado, who you got for him, Coach?
Well, the one and only, the guy that have taken Alabama State to the mountaintop. We want to call him Moses. You know, in the book, you know, Moses took him to the promised land, but the good Lord couldn't get over. And talking with him earlier today, you know, this is hump. This is get over the mountain, you know, and you know, one of them teams we got to get over the mountain is Florida A&M. He hadn't had a losing season. They finished second twice and third once. Right now, he's is the longest guy that's been a head coach that have coached the conference more than 2 years. In the 2 years, he's put some guys in pro. They raked his coaching staff this year, and like he's saying, he'll tell you about it that sometimes that's a good thing. That means you hire good people. With no further ado, Eddie Joseph Robinson Jr. from Alabama State, head coach.
Good evening. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good, Coach. Great, man. Man, I'm glad I got a chance to get you. I was just surprised to get you on Friday, but we got you early. I'm pretty sure y'all got a scrimmage. I think 99% of tomorrow is the scrimmage, the big scrimmage before everybody start game planning.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you know, we'll start off on a Thursday. So, yeah, tomorrow will be our last big scrimmage, and then we'll have the SWAC officials down here. We'll be in the stadium, so we're going to try to make it as much of a game day environment as we can. We'll have it's kind of like our deal with all of the athletic department. We'll have all of the different teams there, so we'll sign autographs and on the concourse at the stadium. So it'll be it'll be some of our kids. It'll be their first time to actually, you know, play a little football in the stadium. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Senior now. You're a senior. You're a senior head coach. You've been right there, man. You've been looking over at it, 7-5. Looking over at it, 7-5. Last year, kind of got tripped up to the 6-5. Now you don't lost your defense coordinator, your secondary coach, and James Williams. Man, I mean, you right there, but you right there. You ain't got the people who, as Drake would say, we started from the bottom, now we're here. And they going on to what? James went to Kennesaw. Defense coordinator went to UAB. How you feeling right now?
We'll feel good about it. I think you always have to. For us, you realize that coach is going to do well and they'll have opportunities. And so you have to, my thing, I always tell the coaches before I hire them, like, hey, man, what's your goal? Do you want to get to the NFL? You want to get to, Power Five football? What's your goal? And it's my job to try to help that coach to get to his goal, whether it's helping them to get the NFL interns or whatever that is. And then it's his job to help Alabama State to win the championship. So you got to have everybody invested in something. And so both of those guys are, good friends, still talk to James quite a bit. And to me, it's an asset because now I get to hear the things that they're doing at Kennesaw and at UAB and some of the things that we can try to replicate. And so you try to learn from coaches that are different places. So you just add it to your network of coaches that you can call so you can bounce ideas off of them, the things that are working. So that's how I kind of looked at it. But both of those guys helped us a lot. They helped us to have the #1 defense in the conference and really high in FCS. And so wish both of them the best. Of course, we play UAB the first game, so I can't root for Ryan too much the first week, but after that, I'll be rooting for him also. He's a great guy.
Hey, Coach, man, your first recruiting class are now all men. They came from boys to men. What is the tune that they are singing now? It's time. They've been there and they've been so close. But only closest happened in horseshoes. Are they fired up and ready to go?
Yeah, I think everybody has those expectations. It's not just us, it's everybody in the conference, and you have a lot of teams who have a great chance to sit at the top, but it's only going to be one winner and 11 losers. That's how we're looking at it. So, being in second or third place is not a goal of ours. I know no one else in the conference has that same goal. So that's what makes football so special. It only going to be one winner. And the good thing is everything can be proven on the field. But, my guys, we're ready to play. We're just trying to get better. Our motto is always going to be win today. So, we can't talk championship. All we can do is win Friday and then wake up in the morning and win Saturday. I've been having some really good back-to-back days. Once, Coach, once school starting, they had that fried chicken Wednesday and that Thursday morning practice looks a little raggedy. Everybody's getting distracted. And you're 18, 19, you're supposed to be distracted, but now we have to get them refocused back on football. So it's a good test. You get some transfers, you get them in that HBCU environment. It's a lot going on. So we're treating this like a game day prep. So I'm telling them, hey, man, curfew yourself tonight. Make sure that you're ready to play. Get into your routine because in a week or 2 weeks, I think for us another 13 days, you'll be going to bed, waking up, playing your first college football game. So that's the fun part about it.
Well, Coach, man, your Achilles heel. I think this is one reason why you ain't got over the hump.
Hey, Coach, you breaking up. Can you speak up, Coach?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Your Achilles heel. How I know on paper that quarterback spot looked wonderful. You got some competition over there. Of course,
Yeah.
you know Andrew Body. You got to transfer from Georgia Tech. I heard it's hot over there, Coach. At least you got 2 good ones. But with your luck, you need about 6 good ones.
Yeah, let's
You'll play with wide receivers, defensive backs, and quarterback. What does it look like over there, Coach?
Yeah, the guys are working hard, and like you said, we have competition. Andrew Body, we all know about the talent that he has. We saw him in the first game against North Carolina Central. Things that he can do in practice. Just a natural leader, great kid. He's been hurt the last 2 years in the first game, so just it's hard not to root for a kid that's had that type of adversity and to show up with a great attitude, ready to work every day. So he's out there healthy, ready to go, competing. And then you have Kareem Key, who returned from last year, quarterback from Georgia State, Braylon, and then another kid that transferred in from Jacksonville State. They have a lot of the same skill set as Andrew Body. So those guys will be out there competing. And James, our big freshman from last year, who also was injured. And so as you know, competition, it brings out the best of everybody. So that's the best part about it for us. It'll be tough, because we have some really good guys who won't get to play this year, unfortunately. But I think from a team standpoint, those guys are pushing each other, realizing that every day I have to go out there and have a great day. And I think, just from my experiences in the NFL and being on some good teams, when you have that type of competition, I think it makes the team better than it makes the individual better.
Hey, Coach, let me ask you this, Coach. You mentioned that you lost some coaches, some quality coaches.
Mhm.
A key coach for you, which was your defensive coordinator and your defensive back coach. Who were you able to replace those guys with, and were you what kind of experience do those guys have in coaching?
Yeah, defensive coordinator. That was a guy I didn't have to look for. Billy Gresham. I think coach. He coached Billy probably when he was there when he was a young guy, and a guy that was from Montgomery, played at Alabama State, and just remember him as a player here. And he was coaching at Carver High School. Did a great job there as a head coach, and has been at Alabama State for a number of years. He was actually my linebackers and special teams coordinator, so the system was right there. Of course, he'll put his touch on it. And then Todd Middleton, who was a former defensive coordinator, I think down there at Prairie View, and my D-line coach. So he'll kind of be that co-coordinator, have put a lot of stuff from that run game aspect of it. And then cornerback coach-wise, Saeed Lee turned to another Hornet. He was coaching over at Morehouse and Grambling before that. So that's a guy that we had just a young coach that I met when I first got the job, and I was just about to hire him, and he ended up going to Grambling. So it's good to get some Hornets back on board. So I feel good about those guys just from them knowing me and I'm knowing them, and so the camaraderie of the staff is pretty good, and I like that part of it. And whenever you get some alumni back, they feel it. They understand the Mad City Classic. They understand the big games, Turkey Day Classic, and so they have that same commitment to want to win, and they feel that that need to have a successful season and a championship season.
Hey, Coach, this is your fourth year, coming into your fourth year. How would you rate this offseason compare this offseason to your other 3 off seasons, and where do you think your program is as far as contending for a championship?
Yeah, I mean, for me, especially being first-time head coach, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so it's not like you're winging it, because you have a great idea of what you want to accomplish, and you talk to some other coaches. You got some former head coaches on the staff. Coach Sims, who came over from Bethune-Cookman. So you had a lot of really good input, but now you can kind of see what has worked or has not worked, and so you want to have it as flawless as possible. I tell them, like, we're like space shuttle operators. This is like NASA. We have one boat loose and the whole shuttle crash. So we want to be as perfect as we possibly can and learn from the mistakes the year before. And so to answer your question, I mean, we're moving in the right direction. I think it was one of the best off seasons we've had, just as far as the OTAs, having guys up here working, competing, watching film, just realizing that we're trying to bond together as a team, getting the new guys, the freshmen, the transfers to all get to know each other and believe in each other. And that's the big part of it. So, of course, everybody else is doing the same thing. And so I tell them, I say, hey, man, did we have a championship practice today? And the answer is you'd never know, because I don't know what's going on in the conference. It feels great to me, but it's still everybody else is going to be better. And I think that's why, competing in the SWAC, you have a lot of great coaches. Every team is getting better just from a personnel standpoint of the guys that we're getting on campus. So the league is getting more and more competitive each year. So you may have gotten better, but you still got to know that everybody else is getting better also. So you have to just go out there and keep competing and working to be the very best you can be.
Hey, Coach, by most people's account from the outside, it looks like you guys have had tremendous defensive seasons, but it's struggling on offense. Can you just break down, in your 3 years being here during those seasons, tell us why do you believe your offense has struggled?
Well, I think, it always starts at the quarterback position usually. My first year when we had D. Davis, he had a great first game against Howard, and he got hurt the second game against Miles. College missed some time and then came in and out the lineup, and so that was kind of part of it. The second year we ended up switching from one quarterback to another mid-season, and the kid picked it up, but by the time he got going, it's kind of on that second stretch, and then last year you had a lot of quarterback injuries. So if we can get the main guy to be the main guy, and I think it's always been a quarterback conference. The team who has some consistent play at quarterback, or who has the best quarterback, usually does extremely well. Just look over the last couple of years. Usually the SWAC quarterback of the year is usually the team that ends up winning the conference, or they're right there at the top. So that's what we have to get that done. Now, of course, you still have to have, those explosive players and those type things like that. But we feel like it's all ready to come together, just having some young guys who are moving up on that offensive line. them third and fourth year guys who have been here, played together, those type deals. So just really looking forward to it, trying to get better at that position and then to keep maintaining what we've done from a special teams and the kicking game aspect and then also with defense.
Have you guys set any goals for your offense this year as far as ranking, total yardage, things of that nature to kind of measure how successful you guys are or what the expectations is on offense?
Yeah, score more points than the other team. That's the number one goal. So whatever that takes. but yeah, Coach Barnett, we have our goal board like every team does. Don't turn the ball over, average certain amount of points, third down. So yeah, we definitely have those goals. But my thing is the job for the offense to score one more point than the defense does, than other team does. And so, but yeah, we'll have those metrics of what it means to get better, and we have those competitions we track during the offseason, we track during fall camp to see if we're moving in that direction. No self-inflicted penalties, those type of things. Keep the ball off the ground, no turnovers. Football hasn't changed much. The recipe for a good team is still the same.
It seems like, Coach, you playing good football, man. You need to go buy some Lucky Charm box and put it in there, because when you right there go another quarterback right out. So, Coach, you got to get over the hump, and that Achilles heel to get over the hump is to beat Florida A&M. That's a big one. But I know you got to win the first one first. How you feel just as a coach, and like you said, you hadn't been a head coach, but I mean coaching, and you got guys around him. You guys feel that this is the year?
Oh yeah, every year you have to feel it's the year. I think I love even in the NFL, you love the opening day. It didn't matter what team you were playing; they could have missed the playoff the year before and was 3-13. Every team had a great offseason, and they felt like the first game, boom, we're going to get off to a great start. So, yeah, tons of optimism. Like we know what the goal is. It's to win a championship. It's just not out here to have a winning season. Second place won't feel good. Last year we overcame a lot of adversity. So you look back on it and you say, man, coach, that was a great coaching job, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, but we didn't win a championship. So, and I think that's how it has to be. You can't just go out there. We're not just trying to fill up the stadium and send people home sad after the homecoming. So we want to get to that next level, and we know that's going to be fan SWAC wise. Our first SWAC game is at FAMU, and so that's going to be a big game for us just because it's the first SWAC game. But it's always looking at the first game against UAB. It'll be a great test for us going up there on a Thursday night. So looking forward to that. Fans are also. So you can, I think you look at our schedule, it's a lot of big games, and that's going to be the fun part of it. And each game gets bigger the next week, especially when you start winning. And so the kids have to embrace that moment and appreciate it and enjoy it and realize it's a special moment. It's a privilege and an honor to play Division I college football. It's an honor for me to coach this team. And so you have that type of approach and you go out there, try to get better every week.
You're muted, Coach. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Coach.
I said, is there any special player out there that you have that's kind of surprising you this fall that we hadn't seen yet?
I would say from a new guy standpoint, not like over the top. We felt like we had some young guys who can come in here and contribute right away, but we're somewhat of an older team now, so those guys they'll kind of blend in, but from the say, okay, yeah, this kid is going to come up here and be a day one starter. I wouldn't say that. And then just our returning guys, Amari Holsclaw, those guys, expecting a lot out of those guys. He was kid that was injured in the Madison City Classic last year, right when he was really getting going. So I'm expecting him to finish where he left off at as a freshman year, not getting the whole thing done. And so. But now we got some really good players, some good young players who have stepped up, especially on that defensive side of the ball. And so we'll play a lot of people, probably play a lot more on defense than we played last year. But I think that'll be a good thing. We may not have that one guy who can get 70 tackles, but we got 3 guys who can get 25 apiece. And so I think that's how we're going to put it together.
Hey, Coach, we went out and visited you guys a couple years ago during the spring. And we saw some really good-looking young guys playing for you guys. Is there any of those guys that you had that were young freshmen maybe even sophomores that are developed into real players at this point that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I think Asa Gregg is one of those guys as a wide receiver. I think he's the guy that can make that next step. You know, a kid out of that DC era, big, strong, can really make some plays, can really be a guy that can stretch the field and do some things like that. So we're looking for him. Ajay Harrell is another guy coming into his third year as a wide receiver now, a redshirt sophomore. And was a young guy, one of those guys that Jacoby Jones recruited, and another one was Jalen Jones. So I think we've had a young receiver core the last couple of years, so it should be good. Watching those guys, redshirt, play a little bit last year, and now really taking that next step in the spring. And of course, having that quarterback and those receivers making that connection, I think kind of answer your earlier question, that's how we become a better team. We've been running the football really well the last couple of years, but having that big play receiver, that guy who can stretch the field and have a 50, 60, 70-yard play, I think football is tough when you got to go 10 and 12 plays every time. So having some explosives will be really helpful for us.
All right, Coach, I'm gonna jump in here. You my guy. So I got to start off with some light because we're going to get into some of the players that you got with Rocky. Because I want to ask you something. Now, you are a proud member of Omega Psi Phi.
That's right.
Proud member. But through the grapevine, I heard that one of your quarterbacks pledged Coach Cole's fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to know, Coach, can a man of Omega understand that he's going to potentially have a Kappa run his offense? Coach, are you going to be okay with this?
Hey,
did he shimmy? Coach, did he throw up the yo at the practice? Did he ask you which 1911 was the right one? Coach, what happened with that now?
Nah, you got it right, man. Whoever your source is, you got some good information coming from out of Montgomery. So we've and I'm a big proponent of the Divine Nine. I think it's a way to keep players connected to the university. Usually the guys that come back and contribute and donate and participate is usually the athletes because they have something to come back for. And then, the members of the fraternities and sororities, they always come back also. So I think it's a beautiful thing. But man, we had a rush of Kappas that pledged Beta Zeta this last spring. So it's been a lot of shimmying going on in fall camp. So I will say that. So as an Omega, it's kind of, but hey, my thing is if you shimmy and you in the end zone, so that's a win for everybody. But yeah, we've made that adjustment. But now Andrew Body did pledge Kappa, and so those guys are really enjoying it, and that's really what the HBCU and college experience is all about. It's not, of course, we want to make sure that they graduate, get their degrees, enjoy football, but you want them to enjoy the social aspect of it too, and they're definitely enjoying that part of it. So it's good to see those young men do it.
Well, Coach, I had to start with you on that. Coach, you on mute. Unmute him real quick, right? Go ahead, Coach. Give one time.
No, I didn't say, Andre Body. I'm calling him, Coach. I'm calling on my frat brother.
There it is. So, Coach,
hey,
now one of the things I thought,
it's this year.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, one of the things that I found interesting, as we know, you all squad and players have been the bellwether of defensive players that have been on the all SWAC team. Now, this was the thing I found fascinating. I looked at the all SWAC team like I always do because it kind of gives me a gauge of talent. Coach, you got more offensive players on the all SWAC team than defensive players. And those guys are on the offensive line. 3 of your offensive linemen are on the all SWAC team. Coach, tell me about those 3 guys. What does that mean? Because as we know, and Coach, like I said, you one of those guys that played in those trenches, had knocked those head. How important is to have a strong offensive line, and talk about why those guys are preseason all SWAC.
Yeah, I mean, each one of them has a different story, but 3 great kids. Jeremiah Frazier, we'll start with him as he was a guard last year. He's going to move over to center. He's a local kid from Montgomery who started off at Tennessee State, went to Troy, started for us last year. Pretty much is the smart guy. He's the guy that's going to make sure everybody's in the right spot. That's why we moved him to that center position. And really looking forward to him to having that all-conference type year. He's emerging as the leader over there. Cameron Smith is a big kid, and big kid. He's out of Texas, out of that Dallas area. Started over at Langston, and then was at Clark Atlanta. Has been here last year. Kind of benefited from that NAIA rule of having that one more year, and I think he's the guy that has the potential to play at the next level just because of his size, athleticism, and so he plays tackle, and another guy is Oh man, you made me lose my train of thought. Desmond Daniels. So yeah, Desmond Daniels transferred over. Was actually a tight end coming out of high school out of Georgia. So he was a tight end signed with Louisville, then at Bethune-Cookman, and played for us last year. I think if you look at him, he just has the prototypical size with the 6'5", the long arms, very lean guy, still at around 305, 310. So I think both of those guys at the tackle position, to me, have a chance to garner some interest, and it's always good when you have a guy like Vincent from Alabama A&M who was drafted and playing that offensive line. It makes the scouts come to say, hey, who else does the conference have? And so really looking for those guys. I mean, we're going to kind of go as they go. And then Desmond Penn is another guy who, is always good for me. He was a walk-on and I was a walk-on. So he was a guy that came here as a walk-on out of South Florida, just kept getting better and better and ended up playing a lot last year. One of those guys that's undersized, but just tough and physical and just plays better as the game goes on. So, I mean, those three of those guys were all preseason, all conference, but Desmond is another guy. So I think that's probably the strength of the offense, that offensive line. So, we like to run the football. We like to be physical and tough. And it starts with defense, but it kind of carries over to that offensive line. And when those guys can have that same type of attitude and personality, it's a real big deal.
Now, Coach, I wanted to ask you, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing a trend. First of all, I need to know who you got down there in Florida to keep getting all these Florida kids to come up to Montgomery. And I also saw and I'm talking about your freshman recruits, and I'm going to go to your transfer. But it looks like you've got a theme. Either I like the kids from Alabama or let me go get a couple of kids from Florida. So let's talk about, because Coach, one thing I do like what I've seen, you have had a mix of transfer, but it's very clear that you want to build kids. You want them to learn the Eddie Robinson Jr. way. So talk about your recruiting class and why did you kind of say, hey, I like the Florida kids, and of course I love my Alabama kids. And then we'll talk about your transfers.
Yeah, I think, with us, we're fortunate to be in Montgomery. And if you just said put a circle of 300 miles, and that's usually a tank of gas, we can recruit those areas. You're talking about Birmingham, Mobile, Huntsville, going to Columbus, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Nashville, New Orleans, and Atlanta, and Georgia, and those in South Georgia areas, and Tallahassee, and that panhandle of Florida. So fortunately, I don't really have to fly to California or Arkansas, anywhere like that. I can stay close and build a really good football team. And then, of course, we have those South Florida kids. And that's the thing, Coach Lewis, who went on the UAB, he was from that area, from Pompano. He recruited down there. So Saeed Lee is another guy, my new DB coach. And so you got to have a guy from South Florida to go down there. So it's kind of one of those recruiting areas where they like the locals to know the locals, and they can get those guys. A lot of kids from that Chaminade area, Coconut Creek and those type areas. So the high schools down there have been really good. When we have our 7-on-7 camps, they come up, they bring their teams, and it's just something that's been really productive. I think we have around 12 or 13 guys from the South Florida area, and probably about 20 on the team. So other than Alabama and then Georgia, our next biggest recruiting stop is Florida.
Now, Coach, one of the last things, and I'll give it back to Coach now, but now on the converse, what I like, I'm looking at the transfers. And I'll say this, what Willie Simmons did with FAMU, he went to the kids that were local and said, come play for home, play for your city. I'm looking at a lot of that flavor being cooked up there in Montgomery. Was that some of the things, because where you built the program, first of all, and let's be clear, great facilities, great coach, great people at Alabama State, great city to play football because of the passion and tradition. What about those kids that you were able to say looked in the transfer portal? What were you looking for a kid to be part of Alabama State? And was it critical that you brought those kids back home to Alabama?
Yeah, so we tried to look at it that way. Who's from Montgomery? Montgomery has just a great amount of talent. The state of Alabama does. And so when we're looking at the metrics, we're looking at, hey, we got a kid that's like Jalen Jarrett. He was at Kennesaw for 2 years. We recruited him out of high school, out of Pike Road. So to get that kid to come back, he'll play for us right away. We kind of know him. We have that familiarity with him. And I think, like you said, Willie Simmons and FAMU does a great job of that. And so many good players in that area and FAMU is just, it's synonymous with the state of Florida. So a lot of those kids say, hey, man, I went here, but now I want to come back and play at home. I think TC Taylor does a great job of doing the same thing in Jackson. Those kids who leave and go somewhere else, they come back home because they know Jackson State. I mean, they grew up on it. So all of the kids that I'm talking to, they grew up on the Magic City Classic. They grew up on the Turkey Day Classic. And so it's something that they're familiar with. So if it doesn't work out at another school, then we say, hey, man, come on back home, play in front of your family. And that's been successful for us. And I think a lot of other schools are having that same approach. Let me get those local kids who maybe have had a stop or two, and now they can come back home and just get back into that HBCU tradition.
Hey, Coach, we're going to do some housekeeping right quick, Coach. Hey, everybody that's watching right now, just want to remind you, we're about to stop the channel on the off script channel, and it will continue on the Rocky Miller channel. Please, it's in the description, and I'll put the link in the chat. So just so you know, we're about to stop the chat and stop the stream on the off script channel. Go ahead, Coach. Can you hear me, Coach?
Hey, can you hear me,
Yep.
Eddie?
Yep, I got you.
You know, I know you like to keep things close to your vest, play great defense, control the game by the running game. Man, you hadn't talked about your stable.